I'm Marti Prohaska. I'm the chair of the Mountain Village Green Team, as well as the Town of Mountain Village Town Council person. Wanted to talk a little bit about the history of the solar co-op here in Mountain Village. The town has wanted to incentivize folks to go green. And when we look at the data, we see that buildings, both commercial and residential, are the biggest carbon footprint users, right, in our community. So if we're going to really impact change, we need to look at how we help folks to make their carbon footprints, their usage of fossil fuels in their homes and businesses less. Now, the biggest gating factor, of course, for going solar for a lot of folks is that it costs a lot of money, right? And that was certainly the case for my family. We live in deed restricted housing in the Meadows. And when we started to envision how this co-op would work, we really wanted to make it approachable for everyone in our community, right? And that means, everyone from, the large homes to homes down the Meadows like mine. And, partnering with a group like Solar United Neighbors, which Bryce will come and talk to you here in a minute, that really allowed us to create a framework through which we can really get the best deal as we possibly can, essentially by buying solar in bulk, right? So we create a co-op. We have a lot of members who are interested in potentially going solar. We can then take all that interest and put it into a framework by which, solar providers, it makes sense for them to come up here and do solar installation. So that's how it kind of started with the Town of Mountain Village. We partnered with Solar United Neighbors. That's how they get solar in so many communities, which Bryce will talk to you shortly about. For me, briefly, because I am a member of the co-op from last year, I think, there were a few very important things that I got out of the process. And notably, one was that it's a daunting thing to be looking into putting solar on your house, not just because of the cost, but also because all of us have a lot of things going on in our lives, right? Like I work full-time, I have 2 kids, I got a lot of irons in the fire. If I'm going to put my money into an investment on my home, I really want to be able to know that it's the right thing. It's the right thing for me. It's the right thing for my budget. What I really felt was valuable was that not only was I getting all this information from Solar United Neighbors about the technology, but also I didn't have to worry that I wasn't taking up all my time trying to do the research to try and find the best solar provider. I was able to do that through the co-op and through the working group that looked at all of the different providers, looked at what they had to offer, and really, compared them apples to apples. I didn't have to sit at home and do that myself, right? That's what the co-op was for. Secondly, obviously, the money. We had a $5,000 rebate because I live in deed restricted housing. That really made the decision to go solar a lot easier for me. That combined with a rebate from San Miguel Power Association, plus the federal rebate that we'll get on account of some of the green policies in the federal government right now, really made it make sense. So that's sort of the how the solar co-op got started in Mountain Village. We're absolutely thrilled that we are widening the net and to incorporate other areas of San Miguel County. To talk a little bit more about solar is our resident solar expert here, my fellow town council person, Pete Duprey. So I'm going to have him come up.
Thanks, Marty. My name is Pete Duprey. I'm on town council. Can you hear everybody hear me? I'm on town council. And I also participated in the solar program last year. And I guess the point that I want to convey to you is, if you're thinking about solar, this is the year to pull the trigger. You've got a 26% federal investment tax credit. You've got, depending on if you're indeed restricted, $5,000 from the town, or if you're not indeed restricted, $2,500. And then San Miguel Power will kick in $750. So if you just take an average 5 kilowatt system, right off the bat, you're getting a 41% discount. Okay? So, and if you run the numbers, which, so also I was in renewable energy for 15 years. So I always run the numbers on a project. And so if you run the numbers, you'll break even on your investment in 10 years. So then if it lasts 25 years, you get 15 years of free electricity. So my point to you is, if you're contemplating this, now is the time to do it. There isn't a better time. Okay, thanks. You're up next.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bryce Carter. I am the Colorado Program Director with Solar United Neighbors. Between everyone online as well, folks in the room, we have about 50 people attending this event right now. So we're really excited to share a little bit about the vision of what this program is, invite you to participate. And so tonight's agenda, we're gonna be having several other guest speakers representing different perspectives. And then we will be digging into a Solar 101 presentation. For those that don't know, Solar United Neighbors, we are a vendor-neutral nonprofit organization, and our mission is to help people go solar, come together, and fight for energy rights. We know there are huge challenges as we look at the transition to renewable energy future ahead, and so we're seeing how can we support this transition of keeping rooftop solar at the cornerstone and making sure, again, that people are able to get equitable, fair credit for what they produce. And so it was really exciting for us to be able to participate with the town of Mountain Village last year, and also being able to leverage a rebate program where ultimately out of the 14 families that we helped go solar, 9 of them were indeed restricted households and got that full $5,000 credit you heard about. Altogether, we helped facilitate nearly $250,000 of local investment that's anticipated to save up to $420,000 over 25 years for these families. That's also going to allow us to reduce our carbon impact by over 1,500 metric tons of CO2 equivalent. So these are real numbers, real impact, and we're really excited to continue to expand our program. I'm also really excited as we look at what we were able to accomplish last year. $65,000 was able to go through to supporting those rebate programs, and that was thanks to both Mountain Village as well as the Telluride Owners Association. But it's also the work right here in this region led to this model being taken up by the city and county of Denver, where they have now created a rebate over 3 years for $300,000. So this model is something that is leading. People are excited to see what can happen, and making sure that especially those are restricted households or low to moderate income can receive the frontline benefits of this transition to renewable energy economy. And so, you know, it's one thing for me to spout off these stats, but really we want to highlight the stories of some of our participants. And so I want to invite Zoe, who is a member of the community, who was able to take advantage of that rebate program, who was a member that was installed last year. So Zoe, if you wouldn't mind, you know, unmuting, and we'll love to hear from you.
All right. Hi, everybody. Sorry we're doing it from the car. I'm actually trying to do a road trip right now with my brother, who also lives in Mountain Village. And I was talking to him on the way here that I'd be doing this meeting. And he's like, I want to go to that meeting. I'm hoping to join it myself. So again, my name is Zoe Gillett. I moved to Telluride about 2.5 years ago to be a Spanish dual immersion teacher here. And in the end, ended up becoming the principal at Telluride Intermediate School last year. And kind of like Marty said, you know, it's always a goal of mine to reduce my carbon footprint. But between the time as a working parent, I've got 3 kids, and challenging funding, I moved from Latin America. So there wasn't exactly a lot of savings built up, trying to figure out how to make that happen. When this became available, I pretty much jumped on it. And then I think I immediately emailed Marti and said, is this doable? Could I do this? Like, what is it going to mean? And I would say I joined primarily because of the financial incentives, not going to lie, as you know, a single parent trying to make all this happen. But in the end, I thought what was really amazing was how little I had to do. To me, that was really exciting. So I didn't have to get called away from work to be able to go and let folks in, or I wasn't sure. I mean, Marti mentioned the whole process of choosing a vendor. Obviously, I didn't have to do that, but even just figuring out what kind of a system I would need. I don't have a science background, so I was really nervous that I wouldn't really be able to understand just the mechanics of what's expected of me as a homeowner, of where on the roof or how many panels, just that whole process. And I actually found it really enjoyable and informative. And I was really proud that I got to be a part of the process in for our environment and showing my kids as teenagers. And now we have the app that shows us how much energy we're producing. And we talk about sunny days, and we talk about cloudy days. Plus, I'm in the boulders, and there are two other neighbors that went through it at the same time. So we would swap stories on how it was going, and the times that we did have to be there, we would kind of share. And it's been fun to compare different roofs and how it works. And I can't get over how, like I said, how easy it has been. And again, the calculations for my home too, the idea is that it'll we'll pay it back within 10 years, which again, my brother who lives in Florida, I thought that was incredible, that's something that's an option. And to me, yet again, it speaks to how amazing Telluride is, and the town of Mountain Village specifically, that it's so focused on helping us do the right thing, making it financially viable for us to do the right thing, and then just keeping the process doable so that we can participate even though we have many other things going on. So I would say if you have any questions, feel free to ask how it felt as a participant. But the nervousness that I felt originally went away. And again, being an educator in our community, it just felt like one other moment where the community was saying, let me help you do this. And thank you for what you're doing, and digital homes, and trying to be there for those of us who really need it. So I had a great experience and encourage other folks to take advantage of it.
Thank you so much. We're trying to help more families in the community, and especially now we're partnering with San Miguel County. And so I'd love to invite Sheamus up here to talk for a few minutes about what they are doing.
Thanks, Bryce, and thanks everybody for being here. I'm speaking on behalf of Chris Holstrom, County Commissioner. Hope to do her justice. She's definitely a major supporter of renewables. She has firsthand experience living off the grid. And she knows firsthand how they can save people money. And so just to speak to the county in general, we're really excited about this program. We have a long-standing goal of trying to pivot towards more renewable energies and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. This solar co-op program is just a really great opportunity for all of this residents of the entire county, San Miguel County, to make this transition in the most affordable way possible. And there's lots of the parts of the county where, you know, having solar, rooftop solar makes a ton of sense. So we hope to reach as many of those residents as possible and get them on board for this great opportunity. One thing I'll make note of is we have a rebate program in the county. It's a little bit different, but it's going to be the first 10 applicants who are San Miguel County residents that live in a deed restricted home outside the town limits of Telluride or town of Mountain Village will be eligible for a $500 rebate on the cost of installing solar. So got another little discount to add in there, and hope to have as many participants as possible. And really excited to just partner with everybody here and have the great expertise that this team is bringing out to make this process as streamlined as possible.
And especially as we grow our impact with our program, we wanted to work with local and regional partners to really elevate the educational components of this work. And so I would love to invite Ellen Ross with Solar Energy International to talk a little bit what that looks like and pass the torch to her.
Excellent. Thank you, Bryce. And thank you everyone else who's able to join in person virtually today. My name is Ellen Ross. I'm the program manager for Solar Forward. And Solar Forward is an outreach program from Solar Energy International. Solar Energy International, or SEI, more informally, is a international solar training facility through online and in-person labs. We work toward expanding a diverse, inclusive, and well-trained and educated solar workforce. So one of my goals in working with San Miguel County is to be able to expand the solar workforce opportunities in the county. And I'm also very excited to work with Solar United Neighbors and Mountain Village to expand their impact through education and outreach in the county, as well as doing outreach around different financing and opportunities for renewable energy for ag producers, and energy efficiency, working with EcoAction Partners. So I'm thrilled to be on board and see all of these faces excited about solar. I'm always thrilled to see more community members looking for ways to diversify their local energy resources. So with that, I'll hand it over to Bryce, and I believe Chris Medary can talk more about our partnership working with the county.
Hi everyone. Oh, can we still hear me? No. Yes? Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Chris. I work for EcoAction Partners. We're a regional nonprofit that works throughout San Miguel and Duprey County. We track both the greenhouse gas emissions and produce a climate action plan, which was recently updated and released on our website. I encourage you to go there, check it out, and don't forget to fill out the survey, provide some feedback. We want to hear what you think both about the document, any other areas that we could pursue reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. We also have programs to reduce our energy and waste production in our region. That's pretty cool. A big part of climate action planning, of course, is to transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy. So we're really excited to be part of this project and to increase the amount of net metered systems across our region. Yeah, so check out our website. There we have some rebate programs for energy efficiency upgrades, as well as some education programming that we will be working with Ellen on. That'll be both kind of in Norwood and Down Valley, as well as here in Telluride. So yeah, super excited to be part of this project.
And then to wrap up this kind of rally of different speakers, I'm really excited to introduce Terry with San Miguel Power Association. It's not every day when we do this work that we're able to partner directly with the utility to promote not only solar co-ops, but the conversations that are needed to happen in communities as we look ahead at the future of energy. So with that, I would love to invite Terry to say a few words.
All right. Thanks, Bryce. So as a member of this co-op, you're also a member of our co-op, right? We keep the lights on. We have been supporting net metering, which is fundamental to this process, since 1999. It's part of our mission statement to promote, environmentally responsible electricity. So this is very consistent with our mission statement. Your current energy supply, what's powering these lights right now is about 33% renewable and growing rapidly. Of course, state mandates are going to see to that. We've had a pretty aggressive program over the last 10, 15 years in San Miguel Power to work with rooftop as well as large-scale solar. You're probably familiar with the community solar garden above the airport. We've got two others. We've got numerous hydros. But a statistic you may not be familiar with is we currently have 420 customers in our service territory out of about 13,000 which is about 3% that are already net metering. I'm one of them. I have a solar powered battery backup system in my house. So we're here to support this organization. We also do offer rebates. The Green Fund, which you'll hear a little bit more about in Bryce's presentation, is a voluntary contribution where you can pay 1 cent a kilowatt hour extra for us to then provide you the electricity that we get from our local generated renewable systems like the hydro systems, the 3 solar gardens. We're in the process of looking into maybe putting in 1 to 3 more solar gardens in the future. Those are not as economical as a subscriber as net metering is. Net metering does pose challenges to utilities. You know, when it was small relative to the number of consumers we had, it was not an issue, but there are issues that we will have to address in the future based upon the current rate structure that we won purchase power through and the rate structure that we currently have in place, which was put in place long before net metering was a popular thing. So we're going to be working to educate our consumers or the members on how this is going to roll out. There's only, there's a number of states which have retracted net metering. Colorado is not going to be one of those anytime soon. So we're going to be working with the co-op, working with the members to continue to support this organization and help you guys move forward. And I'm here to answer any questions you might have during the course of this event.
I invite you back up when you get to your slide.
Okay.
So with that, I'm going to go ahead and begin a presentation. And what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about Solar 101, introduce what it is and how it works, and talk a little bit more about the co-op process and some financing options for everybody. And then as we run through this, I'll pause at the end of each section. So if we have folks that have questions, we'll be happy to take those. So let's make sure that is sharing. But yeah, we're really, again, excited to be growing our program and impact. And again, the best ways to contribute, if you do have a question that's really burning, you want to make sure you capture that, feel free to use the chat to post your question. This webinar is being recorded, and so we'll be able to, again, make sure other folks are able to access this in the future. And as you heard from most of these partners, we're really excited to work together in the community, as well as the Mountain Village Owners Association, being able to build our impact with how we not only help people go solar, making sure that we can make sure it's equitable and inclusive as we work with these rebate programs. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, Solar United Neighbors, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We are vendor neutral, and it's our members that ultimately decide which installer that is selected for each of our solar co-ops. And we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. And our mission as an organization is to help people go solar, and that's supporting with new or existing systems, helping people join together. So looking at education, building out community, doing fun events, resources. Really, it's coming down to the community that we're working in, seeing what sort of things we could bring together. And then also fighting for energy rights. As we look at policies like net metering or working with homeowners associations, we want to represent solar owners and making sure that they're getting fair credit for what they're able to produce in their rooftop. So Solar United Neighbors, we started as a grassroots organization and mobilization in 2007 in Washington, D.C. Anya Schoolman is our founder and current director as well. And it's actually her son and his friends helped really jumpstart the effort where they were interested after being inspired by watching Inconvenient Truth to say, how do we make an impact? Can we, how do we reduce our carbon emissions? And they realized solar is one of the best ways to do that. So very soon they began knocking on neighbors' doors, realizing, like, why don't we go together and see if we could do some savings and figure out how to do this as a group. And very soon they had 50 homes in their neighborhood that signed up. And after a couple-year process of kind of learning as they went, they were able to have the very first solar co-op. Since then, we now have members in all 50 states. We've helped facilitate 307 solar co-op purchasing programs. And we have over 40 staff that support us and a network of nearly 500,000 people across the country. So we're really excited to expand our program. So that relates to over 6,300 families and businesses even that have gone solar. And we're approaching now over 53 megawatts worth of capacity that's been installed. As an organization, we're really excited because we're beginning to look at our impact in the size of power plants. And we're excited to really accelerate this impact. And as you can see how many tons of carbon dioxide equivalent we've been able to offset as we look at the years ahead. So this movement continues to grow, and we're happy to be a partner in the communities we serve. In terms of Colorado's impact, we launched our program in early 2019. Since then, we've helped nearly 300 people go solar and installed just under 2 megawatts worth of installed capacity, investing $5.4 million. That's projected to save over $8.5 million for those households. Based on analysis from the National Renewable Energy Lab, we anticipate that this investment is going to help create 30 solar jobs across the state. And you can see the metric tons impact that we've had just for Colorado. And so, as you heard a lot, a big priority for us is not just helping people go solar, but making sure as we look at the transition to renewable energy future, it's just and equitable. And so we wanted to prioritize how do we make sure our most vulnerable communities, whether they're in the frontline community or if they're struggling with affordability in mountain towns, how do we make sure that the benefits of solar and the energy and value that they produce is kept within our communities? And so that's a core principle of what we do as an organization, is supporting this just energy transition that is fair and equitable. And so with that introduction, again, I'll go into the bulk of the presentation. We'll talk about solar technology, go over some of the solar economics, and then talk a little bit more about the solar co-op program. So we're gonna start fairly simple here. So when we talk about solar photovoltaic, or PV, photo being light, voltaic being power, essentially, the solar is made of silicon, and through physics, it's able to convert the energy from the sun into electricity. And as of now, the efficiency of solar panels, of the light that hits the ground, they can convert about 20% or 1/5 of that energy into directly electricity. And so when you're looking at a solar panel, you can see here that, again, you have these wafers of silicon, and then you have diodes that are able to collect those electrons that are excited through the physics, and you can create a direct current of electricity, and you can put this all together in a panel and encapsulate it in a frame to keep it safe. And then you can start lining up those panels as a part of a solar array. And that's basically the simple way of putting how a solar panel works. And now, in terms of terminology, the things to know is a system is measured in kilowatts, and the electricity production is measured in kilowatt hours. I like to give the analogy of a car. And so you know that you have your horsepower of your car. And say you're going up a hill, you're coming up to Mountain Village and you're flooring it. That's the full capacity of your vehicle using that full potential. Same thing with a solar system. Your kilowatt size of a system is the full potential of your solar system. So on a sunny day at noon, you're getting that full potential at the right angle. You're able to get the full maximum potential of that solar system. Then kilowatt hours is essentially miles per gallon. You're measuring that impact over time. So say you have 2 hours of very good solar production. For a 5 kilowatt system, you would produce 10 kilowatts of hours of electricity. The average household installs anywhere from 5 kilowatts to 7 kilowatts, but there's a lot of factors that go into designing a system like that. It goes from both your site as well as your goals. And keep in mind that you may decide that you don't need to cover 100% of your consumption. So that's something as we select an installer, you'll be able to talk with the installer about. And our goal is the solar co-op process. It's free. There's no obligation to go solar. Our goal as an organization is just to make sure you know the opportunity to go solar, what that means for you. And so lastly, here you can see with this example, we have 10 300-watt panels, and put together that's 3,000 watts. And so that would be a 3 kilowatt solar system. And just to introduce you what it looks like, we have racking systems with asphalt shingle roofs. They are able to securely and waterproof it into the awnings of your roof. So between whether it's wind or hail events, it's secured and it's able to be installed there. If you have a metal roof, sometimes you don't even need to have penetration. So you can actually clamp it on securely and be able to install it that way. And then if your roof doesn't work for a variety of reasons or preferences, you can also pursue ground mounted solar. There are additional costs. You're gonna have to trench wires and install the foundation for that project. So it's something to keep in mind. So now that you are producing electricity in that direct current from the solar panels, you need to convert that electricity into alternating current, which is electricity we use in our homes. And so an inverter is the technology that is able to do that. A lot of systems use string inverters, which is basically all of the lines of solar panels go into one place and are able to convert that electricity. There are also microinverters, which is they do that conversion at each individual solar panel. Either way, whether you have a microinverter or what's called an optimizer, each panel has basically a computer that can track the production of each individual panel and help make your system run efficiently. And then once you are able to have that production, your solar system can then typically have a pretty easy connection into your home electric panel. A lot of homes don't necessarily need to have an upgrade, but your installer will be able to evaluate that and let you know, especially in areas where we're starting to see upgraded electrical codes. That's something to keep in mind. You might need to upgrade depending on what the code says. And so we just say that do it. It's about safety as much as it is making sure your system works efficiently. And so to summarize, you have your solar arrays, you have your solar inverter, you have your electric panel, and then you have utility meter. And then as we mentioned, net metering is the process where you can get credit for that energy production. So again, when you get that electricity that's being produced and then converted through DC to AC electricity, then once it goes into your electrical meter, the electricity go wherever the demand is. So if you're using electricity, pulling that current, charging your electric vehicle, using your lights or laundry or whatever, that electricity is going to go straight there. And then it's important to note the grid doesn't even see that. So you may not see, a lot of people get confused when they get their first bills. You may not see that production reflected on the bill with SMPA, but it counts because you're offsetting what you would have purchased otherwise. And then any excess production from what you use can go through that bidirectional meter, and then it basically flows onto the grid and can help power your neighbors' homes. And then you can get one-to-one credit up to 100% of what you produce. And this is very basic, that you can see essentially when you have 300 kilowatt hours that you can produce from the grid or purchase from the grid, and then if your solar system produces 200 kilowatt hours, you essentially would pay that 100 kilowatt hours, so you're able to see those savings. And then to reaffirm, basically, the electric bills do not reflect that self-usage. So keep that in mind, so you can then begin to see what that savings actually is and can calculate that. As part of our work with Solar United Neighbors, when you sign up to become a member, we evaluate your roof if we think it would be good for solar. And this is part of the streamlining of the process to help with the installer that is selected to make sure they know, is your roof good or not? And the things that we look at is your roof's orientation. South orientation is most preferable. West is second most preferable, just because of the energy in the afternoon. It tends to be pretty good with solar, though west and east can work just as well. Though we don't really recommend in the north, especially this time of year. As you know, snow tends to stay there for a while. Additionally, we look for little to no shading, whether it's trees or buildings, making sure that you're able to get the maximum production of your house. So again, this time of year, especially with the mountain shading, it's important just to note, like, what does your roof look like and how much sun are you getting? And as you're evaluating solar, it's something to consider. And lastly, making sure you actually have the space to mount those panels. We look for a minimum of 200 square feet, and that's about a kilowatt worth of capacity. And so that's something to consider as you look at obstructions or any other kind of angling of your roof and what that might look like. Terry, would you mind coming up and maybe talking about some of the programs you all offered? Not to put you in the spot, but I figured you can explain better than I can.
Okay. So the first one you see there is our Totally Green program. This is where what I mentioned about briefly before. Any of our members can sign up for this. Oddly enough, with the exception of net meter people, and I'll explain that in a moment. But essentially, if you wanted to offset 100% of your consumption with green energy, we have this program called Totally Green. And by signing up for it, you pay an extra penny a kilowatt hour. And then we source the electricity from all of our local renewables first, and then go to the open market through our supplier Tri-State to purchase the RECs, which are the renewable energy credits from some of their large solar systems and wind systems. So that's a way of offsetting your consumption through green energy without having to go solar. We've got San Miguel County has signed up for Totally Green, so all of the county's buildings are totally green. Uray County is signed up for it, the town of Ridgeway, the city of Uray, a number of businesses, Clark's Market here is totally green. I think we have close to 400 individual members have signed up for that. If you go net metering, the billing system is such that if you did not offset 100% of your electricity and you wanted to source renewables from one of these programs, we'd use green blocks, which is essentially the same thing. It's just that it's calculated in blocks of 100 kilowatt hours. So if, for example, your system that you were to purchase through the co-op offset 50% of your electricity, maybe limited by roof space or something like that, you could opt to cover the rest of your consumption through the green blocks program. Like I said, it's the same as totally green, it's a little more clunky, more manual. The Green Sense is an opt-out program. You're already opted in when you sign up to become a member of San Miguel Power. That's just a roundup on the bill. So if your bill ends at 67 cents, we round up to the nearest dollar. The proceeds from all of these three programs go into our Green Fund. The Green Fund is the pot of money that we collect from these programs that we use to then provide the rebates that are being offered in conjunction with the rebates that the co-op is offering. Also the rebates that we offer for converting to LEDs, for putting in high efficiency appliances, for heat pumps. All of our incentive programs are funded from the Green Fund, which, as I mentioned, is a voluntary program. So it doesn't impact members that don't want to participate. So all of the rebates, all the incentives for energy efficiency and for renewables are coming out of this fund. So it's become a very successful fund. We also use the proceeds to help support the implementation of our community solar gardens and our hydro systems. So it's our way of a unique way. In fact, I don't think there's very many co-ops, if any, that have a program like this. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a pretty unique program to our co-op, which kind of demonstrates the progressive nature of San Miguel Power and our commitment to providing environmentally responsible electricity. Hit the spot? Okay.
Up there.
Oh,
and we'll invite.
Yeah. So we are offering the rebate our rebate has waned over time as the cost of solar has come down and requires less of incentivizing. It's going to be currently $300 for most size systems that you put in, 10 cents a watt. I think Pete had mentioned it was $750. It was $750 last year. It's come down to $300. We've decided to look at using the Green Fund in other ways besides solar rebates to help promote further growth of renewables in the community. But we do offer matching rebates for EV chargers. So if you put in a level 2 charger for a future Tesla, I drove your Tesla here today. So the co-op owns a Tesla. You guys own a Tesla. I got to drive it. So we do offer rebates for putting in those chargers, whether it be at your house or the business. Also level 3 chargers. You may be familiar with the 8 Tesla charger units that are over in the parking garage behind the building here. We also offer other services, energy audits. We have rebates for energy audits. If you're interested in, which is a great idea of looking into evaluating the efficiency of your home before you put solar in. There's no point in purchasing a large solar system to power loads that are unnecessary. So switching over to heat pumps, LED lights, electric water heaters, thermal storage. Thermal storage is an interesting one.
Yeah, and I will be able to let some of the
great. Cool. Yeah. So in general, these programs support our ability to help you become more efficient and then provide the rebates for renewable energies.
Thank you very much. And
yeah, so my name is Emma. I'm the director of EcoAction Partners, and Terry mentioned the general rebates for efficiency, but we administer those rebates for SMPA. And as he mentioned already, we just really like to focus on the efficiency before going renewable, looking at how much we use before we switch our system over and help out with saving costs, lowering our utility bills in the first place, but then needing less solar to actually cover our usage. So we will help out with those energy audits and taking a look at other ways that we can become more efficient. Terry talked already about the EVs, but lots of other exciting rebates available for your houses, for LED bulbs, for appliances, for water heaters, for outdoor equipment, and some new ones this year for electric bikes and smart thermostats. So there's a lot of really exciting options for the rebates there. and just other ways to be more efficient before going over to solar. Thank you.
There's just a lot of amazing resources available to the community. So we encourage everyone, click on the links on this slide and be able to access that information. And certainly we'll continue to provide that information throughout the co-op. Also, there are community solar gardens available. We know, as I've heard, there's subscriptions are filled, but we want to make sure people know that that is also an option that's available to the community. And certainly we would love to continue to see those expanding. But for those that don't know, you can buy a share as part of a community solar garden and get credit on your bill. In some opportunities, you can actually purchase a certain amount of panels and be able to receive the production value of those panels. So different community gardens work in slightly different ways. Some of them include low to moderate income carve-outs. So as we learn more, and if there's opportunities that get presented, we'll work with all of our partners to make sure you're aware of those opportunities. Now, I'll spend just a couple of minutes. Part of our co-op not only helps people go solar, but we like to, especially as we look at our more rural and mountainous communities, offer batteries. So people can look at going solar and or installing batteries and or install EV chargers, which I'll also talk about in a minute. And for those that haven't seen the consequences of climate disruption over the last couple of years, we know that the grids can be vulnerable. There's challenges in working to build a resilient grid. And that if the grid does go down, unless you have battery storage, your solar system will be unable to power your house. And that's part of a safety mechanism to make sure that those lines aren't electrified when the linemen come out to do repairs that are necessary. So again, if you want to be able to support that, you'll need batteries as part of your system. Some considerations with battery storage. So again, if there's frequent utility outages or brownouts, if you happen to be at the end of a line, that might cause trouble. If you have critical loads that can never be offline. So if you might be prone to flooding or have medical equipment, in some cases servers that might be mission critical, those are all considerations of battery. And of course, emergency and disaster preparedness. You know, I feel like in Colorado, we have pride that we're pretty resilient in terms of events that we've been seeing in recent years. But you never know that there could be something where the power is off for several days or longer. And so it's something to keep in mind. One thing to note, even where we see different rate tariffs in terms of hour by hour charges, for instance, battery storage doesn't really pay for itself quite yet, at least not in the markets that we're currently working in. I know in some areas we're seeing some incentives to help change that, but really the economics of batteries aren't quite there to pay for themselves. So something to keep in mind. And as you're looking at your values and your decision making, that's something to just consider as part of what's important. We do have a battery storage guide that's available for homeowners. And so you can go onto our website and download that, and we'll have more information for you available. And just to run a very quick example, we have the Johnsons here as a family that has a 6 kilowatt solar system. And they wanted to make sure that they can power their household for a full day in case there is no sun shining. So if you have a winter event and the snow hasn't shedded, or if there's multiple days where it might be cloudy, that's their goal. And so with that, they prioritized making sure that they could keep the refrigerator and microwave working, have some lights and outlets that are gonna be online, keeping their cable modem online, and then a small window air conditioner. When you're thinking about battery storage, it's very customizable, and that's something that you would work with your installer to determine. Something like a microwave, if you have a 1,000-watt microwave, if you run that for 1 hour, that's a 1 kilowatt hour of electricity. So think about that in terms of all these different things and how much energy they use. What they chose not to power, because what can they live without for 1 day? Their stove, their dryer, and their electric water heater. So that's how they valued their battery system. Additionally, I'll talk briefly that EV charger can be part of the co-op as well. And so as you heard, level 3, level 2 chargers, there are opportunities to look at those. And then part of it is also the make of your electric vehicle in terms of how quickly it can charge based on its model. Typically, we see between 10 to 30 miles of charge per hour, depending on the hookup. The higher the charge, the more quickly your car can charge up. And a level 2 is a 240 volt outlet. So a lot of people will need those to be installed in their garage to accommodate that. And since the solar company is going to come out to do solar installation, the electrician's going to be there anyway. So it's something that could potentially see savings. And so just a few considerations, there's interior, exterior opportunities where you might plug in your vehicle, thinking about wall pedestal to keep it secure, making sure that you have the electric service capability. So looking at how many amps the wiring is going to be. There are some solar inverters that also combine with an electric vehicle charger. So those are all options to discuss with your installer. Some of them can be smart and tied to a network, both internally, so you can set up your own schedule. And in some cases, utilities can actually send out a signal and program the computer of their car to charge at certain times of the day or night. Cord length, of course, is a factor. And then, there is the public access components, especially if you're a business. And the reality is, obviously, there's going to be additional cost. The charge unit is anywhere from $500 to $700. The installation cost for the electrician is going to be $500 up to a couple $1,000. So that's typically what we see for the range. And while it's not the key component, again, there could be some savings realized within the EV charging program. And so, especially as you have an EV, it is a way to really save money in addition of not buying gas. You can save money on brake pads because the regenerative braking lasts longer. You don't have to worry about oil. And there are savings that can be realized gas versus electricity. So I'll answer some common questions that we typically get, and then I'd love to open the floor for questions just on solar technology for right now. Again, we'll talk a little bit about financing options and then the co-op process later. First, with warranties, there are 3 primary warranties to consider. One is the manufacturer's warranty, and that's typically anywhere from 10 to 25 years, and it's basically saying that the product that they are selling you is going to work as intended. There's also the installation warranty. So those penetrations on your roof and the work that they do, making sure that those are secure, they're not gonna leak or anything like that. And then lastly, there is a power production warranty. And what that means is that your system is pretty much guaranteed to produce a certain amount of electricity over typically 25 years. So let's say you get a 10 kilowatt system, and the power production warranty is industry standard receives between 80 to 90% or so. So that means after 25 years, your solar system should still be able to produce, say, 8 kilowatts of capacity. So there is a little bit through the physics, kind of a loss of efficiency, but a minute amount. And again, in my work, I've been up in Yampa Valley. I met someone that had 50-watt solar panels from the 70s, and they're still cranking away. So solar panels can go way beyond even where the warranties are. Homeowners insurance, we always encourage people to reach out to your homeowners insurance and let them know what you're looking at for going solar. Some companies actually offer discounts. In my own personal case, I got solar on a detached garage, and I just had to up basically $1 a month to cover the insurance of the garage. So again, talk with your insurance. If they say they're going to charge you a premium for it, it might be time to shop around. Additionally, maintenance is fairly minimal. Depending, if you have a string inverter, you might want to look at needing to replace that about halfway through, maybe 12 to 15 years. You can get extended warranties usually for the inverter. In addition, in Colorado, the reality is between pollen as well as smoke, if you do see accumulation of dust, and it's typically a dry season, you can get the hose. Don't use any chemicals or scrubs, but you can just wash that off and you can get some production value out of that. But again, it's fairly low maintenance. And then if there's any hiccups with the system, your installer will be able to work with that. I already covered how long systems last. 25 years is expected, but they can go much longer. And then in Colorado, homeowners associations can't prevent you from going solar, though they do have a say in where the solar panels might go. So reach out to your HOA, let them know what you're looking at, and we're happy to provide resources and support for that as well. And if you're in a historic district, there's some more potential restrictions, and similarly, that's something we can work with. And lastly, hail, snow, Colorado weather, how do solar panels stand up to all that? First with hail, up until recently, sadly, the most expensive disaster we had was the hailstorm in Golden in 2017. And right there at ground zero of that storm, where we had hail balls the size of I think it was like softballs, was the National Renewable Energy Lab. And out of the 3,000 solar panels out in the field, only one of them was damaged and needs to be replaced. That said, if you have multiple back-to-back hail events, of significance, there might be a chance that insurance has to intervene and replace those panels, but there is a process for that. And additionally, snow, obviously, you know, as we look at mountain town where you see snow on the ground for extended months, as long as the sun comes out, the panels are designed to help absorb that energy and they will melt that snow. It's important to think about where the snow may shed. So if you have it over your front porch or garage, just be mindful of parking your car and being aware of that. But otherwise, generally within a couple days, you get enough sunlight to be able to shed a lot of snow and continue production. So with that, I'm happy to take questions just on more of the technical side of solar and then continue on. Yes, and then so if you could watch the chat online, that would be great. Please go ahead.
What about roof systems? A system that is a roof.
Oh, you mean like the solar shingle type situation? Is that what you are referring to?
I don't know how to word it, but you know, the roof and the solar system are the same thing.
Yeah. So the question is for folks online is, what about systems are also the roof? So like roof shingles, like the Tesla solar shingle. I think it's a new product. It's too early to know like long-term what that means. I know they look great. I know they are less efficient based on their design, but you can have more of it depending on how it's designed. It's also a premium because the way I know like Tesla, for instance, designs it is you have the shingle, but also the solar components within that. And so instead of like a $10,000 roof and maybe a $20,000 solar system, you're looking at $50,000 or $60,000+ roof. And so I think it's designed to be a resilient product and stand up to similar conditions, but overall, I've not seen that widely adopted yet based on the work I've been doing. Yeah. Other questions in the room or online as well?
I have a question.
Yes.
After like 25 years of your solar panels are not working anymore, do you need to get a whole new setup? I mean, probably not the battery system and everything, but do you have to get all new solar panels, or are there just upgrades you can do?
Yeah, so the question is, after 25 years, what happens to solar panels and do they stop working, essentially? But the solar panels will continue to produce and their capacity will continue to be reduced over time because of the slight degradation over time. But those can stay around for decades. I mean, again, there's no moving parts with the solar panels. So at some point, maybe if you have a squirrel or something, you may have to do some wiring work, but the product can keep going. Of course, technology continues to evolve. Maybe there's a chance that you can upgrade the solar panels for a higher production value. That's something to look at. And if that's the case, there are organizations in the state that support recycling solar panels and supporting them for like low-income households or Habitat for Humanity. So that's something that we're excited to elevate and lift up those types of programs. And there are recycling programs as well. So as of now, I think we'll see in 25 years, it'll be a very different situation, but there are a lot of people working on end of life for solar panels, as well as, again, there's, if you're meeting your needs, you can keep going as far as you need to go. And then you mentioned batteries. I'll just throw out there that right now for a lithium ion battery, the lifetime is probably around 10, maybe 12 years. You can, depending on there's a couple other models and types that you can keep up maintenance and potentially extend life and replace those. But again, that's what we're seeing, and the batteries would need to be maintained and replaced. Yes.
Does the contractor typically handle the building permit side of things?
Yes, and the question is, does the contractor handle the building permits? And typically, yes. They would be able to work with the county and the town and be able to facilitate those. Yes.
So we're currently in the design process for our house. Hopefully later this year. Is there anything that we should be thinking about to support
Yes, and the question is, someone's developing their house right now, and as they are building out the house, is there something to consider for solar within the design? So as I mentioned with that one side, thinking about orientation, thinking about any obstruction. So if you're having vents and stuff installed, thinking about where those go to give you the most space to install solar. Even shedding for convenience, it's not a highest priority, but it's something to think about. And there's also, there are guidelines to develop solar-ready homes. So thinking about conduit that could be put in ahead of time, so that way you're able to have those connections and make it much easier to install. And the way we would handle that as part of the co-op process is we would put you down as maybe qualified, and then the installer will be able to work with you to see if they're able to accommodate you within the timelines that you have. Admittedly, we know that from our last co-op, some projects take a while in this part of the woods. So, you know, I think that's something that it's worth just an ongoing conversation, and the installer will be able to work with you to point out some of those things. And is there a chat? Okay. Great, any other questions? Otherwise, I'm happy to keep on rolling here. Oh, there is, okay.
Question is from Alan. Where are the PV panels typically used for consumer site or community projects manufactured?
Okay, yeah, so where are the panels manufactured? That's a great question. I mean, there are panels manufactured all over the world. Solar as a industry, and I have a graph that shows this, is a mature industry. Whether the panels are coming from places like China or manufactured in Canada or the United States, essentially tier 3 panels are a proven technology and are tested, and as part of our co-op process, we make sure that, you know, we look at the data that vets those products. Certainly when people sign up, and as we hear feedback from the selection committee, which again we'll talk more about, the consideration of American-made panels as part of it. There is not a lot of manufacturing in the United States right now, but that is changing. We're starting to see more manufacturing, especially as we see really a lot of opportunities for expanding in the United States. So I think certainly solar is seeing ripple effects of COVID and supply chain issues and worker issues. So all of those challenges, I think, are playing into what this looks like in terms of supply and demand. So I'm not sure if that's what you're thinking about in your question, but it is worth acknowledging, you know, as part of this co-op and work with the installer, we want to provide transparency of both what's out there, what's offered, and also, you know, maybe a certain product might have a higher risk based on the production chain right now. So that's something that we try to keep our finger in the pulse of and keep people informed about.
Ellen just added Equitable Solar Solutions out of Gunnison repurposes panels for low-income residents, and SCI works with the PV recycling program to find new uses for gently used panels.
Yes.
Shared a link.
And I personally used Equitable Solar Solutions. Actually, in my own unique circumstance, had to move on short notice, and we had just gone solar, unfortunately. And our house in Denver, a developer purchased the property, and we realized the developer was just going to mow everything down. So we were really excited to have the opportunity to donate that system and actually have it go to I believe it's a Habitat for Humanity system in Gunnison. So I've heard their program has been very successful and expanding, hopefully. So that's something that we definitely want to continue supporting through all of our work and education and outreach. So thank you for lifting that up, and SCI's programs too. Like, again, that's why we want to partner with all these organizations. Yes.
When a homeowner moves, do they usually leave the solar panel in place? Or they take it away?
Yeah, when a homeowner moves, typically they just leave it because there is value. It's debatable and it depends on the market, but there is equity in those solar panels if the market also understands kind of what that value is. There have been some studies that show there have been some significant increases in value of a household, but it's kind of, I think, early days of Energy Star. Like, people know, like, you pay a little bit extra for a refrigerator, but you save more money down the road. And I feel like the solar housing market isn't quite there. So it's a little bit of a in between, but generally, yes, that is a selling point, and yes, that value can be shared. And then to remove the solar system and reinstall it tends to, I mean, that's thousands of dollars. And at that point, if you're making that investment and buying a new house or moving, might as well just get a new system, in my opinion. But, you know, there's a lot of factors. All right, well, I will continue on to talk a little bit about the economics of solar and talk about kind of how the market has changed over the last little while. Since 1970s, you can see just how radically prices have dropped. Just even in the last 10 years, costs have dropped 90% since 2010. So really solar is no longer a specialty or boutique project. In fact, in California, it's mandated for new projects to have solar. It's seen a more and more excellent return on investment. And then as Pete rightfully said, bye Pete, basically there is a 26% federal tax credit. As we know right now, that is stepping down next year. And there is policy being talked about, but as we saw over Christmas, the infrastructure bill didn't move forward. So honestly, as he said earlier, right now is the best time with what we got and what we know. The economics pan out and it's a good investment. And it's, again, something that can be considered equity. And then, as I mentioned, this is the breakdown of what we've seen in the last 10 years in terms of the reduction of the value of solar. And you can see the soft cost, labor cost, and system components, and especially the system components. It shows that the technology of solar has matured. They know how to produce it. They know how to produce it well. We're starting to see solar panels over 400 watts in terms of one panel being able to get more energy. So moving beyond 20% efficiency. So, so those components are moving from lab to market, and we're seeing that to levelize. Labor, obviously, we want to support our workers, and we are glad to be unified with workers and helping them create these opportunities. And then for full transparency in how we work as a organization, soft costs remain very high for solar installers. What that means is that it can cost literally thousands of dollars for an installer to reach out into the community, find project leads, do those kitchen side table conversations, and then sign a contract and install the project. And so part of our role as facilitating this group buy process is being able to help reduce those soft costs, save the installer money, save the consumer money. And then for us, we are supported through a variety of grants. And then we do ask for a little bit of a development fee to help us with our mission and what we do. And so again, as we look at the pricing and we look at the tax credit, you can see the stepping down of what currently is in law. So 26% this year. What that means is by the end of the year, you need your system installed and what's called grid ready according to the IRS standard. And so by December 31st, you can get that tax credit. If you skip over to the next year, you won't be able to receive that tax credit until the following tax year. So that's something just to be aware of. And then if you do skip into 2023, it would be 22%, and then it will phase out to 2024 at 0% for residential, and it actually will stay at 10% for commercial. There are policies being talked about that hopefully can extend this, but again, we don't know what that looks like right now. So this is what we know, this is what we got, and again, it's still an amazing opportunity, especially as we combine it with the local rebates that we're seeing. And so this is what we see as kind of a sample cash purchase in this region. This is average pricing, and this also isn't pricing for the solar co-op. So if you sign up, you'll be able to see that once we have the installer that is selected. And we do often see savings below these prices. So with that caveat, what you can see is if you have a 4 kilowatt system at $3.50 a watt, the statewide average is $3, but in the mountain communities, especially more rural areas, there's higher costs associated with that. And then you can see that the federal tax credit will be able to help save a portion. We included the example of the Town Mountain Village incentive at the $2,500 rate. As you heard, unincorporated San Miguel County will have a $500 discount for the first 10 members. So again, there's ability to stack up some of these rebates. And then there's also the SMPA rebate of up to $300. And so what you can see is over the lifetime of these systems, projected 10 to 25 years, you can see net savings going up, and you can see the examples between 4 kilowatts and 8 kilowatts. There are a variety of assumptions that we use, so feel free to go to our website to see what those assumptions look like. Additionally, if you're looking to take a loan, this is what some of those rates could look like for a 4 kilowatt, $14,000 to $28,000 loan, 10, 15 years terms, with interest rate at 4% and 22% down. Obviously, this can look different for a lot of people. There's also some initial conversations talking with the Colorado Clean Energy Fund and some other stakeholders that might offer different products that could be available. So for those of you that are looking at options, I double checked. If you sign up for the co-op, you can say if you're interested in any potential equity rebates, and we can make sure that we can flag your account depending on the opportunities that come up as we deploy the solar co-op. So the 1 and 1 and 2 here, we have the loan options. And so we do have some resources, solar9neighbors.org/financing. There also is opportunity with Colorado Energy Office does provide what's called a Renew Grant Loan, and that's with Elevations Credit Union. So there are a couple income supporting options. There's also lots of other banks and other solar specific loans that are out there. So we offer just a kind of a list of options. If you're a partner that might offer additional options, we can be sure to include that. We are finance neutral, but we want to make sure folks are informed. And we are planning in partnership with EcoAction to have educational events specifically on this topic in the coming months. So stay tuned, we'll release those dates as we get to it. Also, just general, this doesn't apply to this current program, but third-party ownership is another opportunity to go solar. So you have a power purchase agreement with the utility, and so you would be able to lock in a price, or also a company could own essentially a system on the roof and be able to, you would pay them to facilitate the ownership, and then they would facilitate the savings. And that's when you hear those $0 down type of deals. But we always say, look at the fine print. Sometimes you have to buy out a system if you try to sell your home. And in some cases, I've done the math, and you might be paying $5,000 to $10,000 more than you would if you financed otherwise over the lifetime of the system. So we're happy to talk through if that's an option you're looking at, and just see based on your needs and cash flow what makes sense for you. And lastly, so if you're a business in the area, I believe this whole area would qualify for REAP grants. That's something that the Colorado Energy Office will support businesses for. We did have one of our largest installations out in Grand Junction. I believe it was like a 30 kilowatt system supporting agriculture, and over 50% of that was covered through a REAP grant. So really awesome opportunity. And while our program is focused for residential, businesses can sign up, and then the installer would follow up to see if those projects make sense. And again, we're happy to be a partner in looking at those options. Oh yeah, I forgot we had this slide, but here are some of the options I just mentioned again. So going through the installer on your own, the installers do also offer their own financing options. You could do a home equity line of credit loan. There are financing options, and then there are Solar United Neighbors is a member of the Clean Energy Credit Union or Community First Credit Union. So anyone that signs up could automatically join those. Then I'll wrap up with the co-op process that we're just now embarking upon. And so again, as you've heard a lot from the speakers at the start of this presentation, Solar Co-op helps get the best value of installation. We provide support through the process. So if you have any questions about your proposal, if you just want to have a third-party opinion, we're here to be a resource. We facilitate that, working with all of our partners and installers to make sure everyone's supported on what people are looking at and going solar. And then also we want to build a community around our work. We are going to have over a dozen events in the coming months with roundtable discussions, educational panels, movie nights, happy hours. We're really excited because I think we're going to be able to do some really fun things and in collaboration with all of our partners and members. So not only would you be part of that community, but also we invite you to contribute to it. So if you're thinking of volunteering, let us know, we can work together. And that's being part of the growing solar movement. There will be policies that will come up, whether it's at the federal level or at the state level. And we want to make sure folks are aware of opportunities to engage, to advocate and share their voice as a solar owner, and talking about that bigger picture is how do we support energy equity in the transitions ahead. So really quickly, the Solar Co-op process. This is our very first information session where, again, it's free. You can sign up to become a member without any obligation of going solar. And then we really need your help to help spread the word in the community. So that's inviting your neighbors, reaching out to different neighborhoods, any way that you can show your support. There's going to be yard signs available. We'll have posters available, both at EcoAction's headquarters in Telluride and Mountain Village as well. We'll leave it here too at the town hall. So you have opportunities to pick those up. And that's really how we can be successful in building a community movement. So I ask everyone, please help us reach out to the community. Then our plan is, as we go into February, we will work toward the RFP process. This process is probably going to take about a month, but what we'll do is open up a couple of weeks where local installers will be invited to provide requests for proposals and bids in to offer what their equipment and warranties pretty much what the whole shebang will be for the program. And then we will do our initial review, making sure everything looks good on our end, making sure there's registration with the state, et cetera. And then we will have a selection committee where any member can be part of that. And as you heard from Marty, it's a great process. It's very informative. It's fun. You will learn a lot. And over an evening, we'll be able to hone in on those proposals and make an informed selection of the installer. And so we plan to do that as we get into March. And then as of now, our sign up deadline is May 1st. We want to work with the installer to make sure as best as we can to get everyone installed by the end of this year. We can't promise that people may not go over, but again, we'll provide transparency as we look at going into 2023 and making sure the timeline is clear, because again, there's a lot of variables right now in the market that we're working with. So as you sign up, again, you'll get that proposal. And at that point, you can walk away if you don't like it or if you don't want to move forward with solar, and that's great. We support that, and we want to make sure that all of your questions are answered. But then you also have the opportunity before signing the contract and then taking advantage of the rebates if you are applicable with the eligibility of those. So then installations will work, and then we'll have a party. So we want to celebrate within the community. And in fact, we need to plan one for the last co-op and get that on the calendar as we start being more in person and outdoors and everything else. So what's next? We are live. I just checked before this, we're already up to 18 members for the solar co-op, which is really exciting. We're almost halfway to what the numbers we had last year. So I'm really excited to see having the community contribute to this. All the links here will work. We're calling this the Uncompahgre Solar Co-op. So it's kind of the umbrella of the region, but both Mountain Village and San Miguel County will be able to, those links will work, and we can also make sure folks know that they can participate. So again, like I said, now is the opportunity to tell your friends and neighbors about the co-op. And then the last thing I'll say, and then I'm happy to pause for questions again. The US needs 30 million solar homes. This is part of our initiative as we look at federal work and talk about the infrastructure bill I referred to. We believe that 1 in 4 homes should have the opportunity to go solar for all of the energy benefits, and especially as we look at energy justice. And as we work on this national campaign, our main 3 focuses are helping address climate change, addressing the economic downturn, and addressing social injustice as we look at the myriad of systems of oppression, frontline communities, racial injustice. All those are important factors as we talk about what does the energy future that we want look like. And so you're welcome to sign our petition, 30millionsolarhomes.org. We are delivering that support to members of Congress to really elevate the fact that this is a priority. And we also invite people to join us as partners as we advocate for this. And this support is important. What we saw in December means that the infrastructure bill is likely not happening, but if we can continue to show that there are constituents interested in supporting a renewable energy future, being able to deliver that can make sure that whatever policies are ahead, we can continue to advocate for things like the investment tax credit and continuing those. So with that, I thank you all. I also want to acknowledge Sarah Solomon in the room. She is our new Colorado Program Associate. So the 2 of us will be working with you on your solar journey, helping answer your questions in the months to come. And then as you saw, all of our myriad of partners who are just so appreciative of working together and making an impact together. So with that, I will stop the presentation, and I'm happy to answer more questions and wrap up. And I see the question is someone was snowshoeing, which is awesome. So thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you get the equipment and not the installer, do a self-install?
So we generally, a lot of installers don't do that because of liability. And sorry, the question is, can you just get the equipment and not the install? There are some groups that do that. Actually, I believe Avasta does that. They're the only ones I know of, but I want to, if any other installer knows that, feel free to share. But the issue is that when you're installing a solar system, I mean, it's electrical, if you mess up with it, you end up burning down your house. So the risk is, having an electrician do that, or if you are an electrician, being able to do that.
The risk is falling off the roof.
Well, that too. Yeah, falling off the roof's the thing too. So like I've known some people that try to do like you know, RV life and install panels on like a roof there, but in terms of house install, there's a lot of risk to that, especially if it's a dwelling, occupied dwelling. There's liability, and I can tell you that permitting processes are can be pretty stringent. So generally, a lot of installers don't want to even risk associating themselves with selling those equipment in case something goes wrong. Any other questions? Yes.
Are you guys offering, when people sign up to be in the co-op, if they get other people to sign on, are you guys offering like an incentive for people to kind of do some of the part of it for you guys?
Not right now. No, we're not offering an incentive. And the question was if members invite members and recruit them, could there be incentive? As of now, what we're excited for is that with our partnership with San Miguel Power, we're actually going to get over 8,000 bill inserts with the electric bill next month. So we're waiting to see what that looks like. And then from there, I think we'll continue to look at how do we reach out into the community, be inclusive and inviting people to partake. And so certainly it's something we can consider in the future, but for now, I think there's a lot of grassroots opportunities that let's roll with it and see where we end up.
Yeah, similar question. Are you guys offering any rebates or discounts or anything for people like minorities that might be signing on to this? I know for deed restricted housing, but aside from that.
Yeah, so right now the rebates are tied to kind of deed restricted households, kind of looking at the question of low to moderate income households generally. And so I think there is a lot of overlap as we look at communities of color and what that means. And so for now, that's how we're decided to design this and working with our partnerships. But certainly that we want to keep that conversation going as we look at continuing more co-ops in the future. So if there's opportunities to make a difference, especially in marginalized communities, that's something we want to consider. Yes.
Along those lines, do you give the marketing materials and co-op info in Spanish?
Yeah, the question is, do we have those materials in Spanish? We do have some template materials, and that's something that we can circle back with and make sure that those are available to download. I'll have to double check because I think we have stuff from last year that's available, but we will make sure that those are available to for people to support reach out to the Spanish community.
And SEI and sorry, this is Ellen here. SEI and the county are going to be working on Spanish translations when we do outreach in the county as well.
Excellent. We love to hear that. Yes.
At what point in the timeline do you test the location, whether it's a viable place to put solar or not? Because at some point it just may not work, correct?
Yeah, so the question is, at what point is a place determined to be viable for solar or not? So when you sign up for the solar co-op, someone from Solar United Neighbors would do an initial evaluation of your roof through satellite and even street view data, just to make sure it kind of matches from what we expect, shading and orientation, all those things. And so we will qualify, put someone down as maybe qualified, and then or just say you're not qualified to participate because of those circumstances. Certainly, we've had some people say their houses, the trees in their front yard are no longer there. So, we work with that. So we do that. And if it's maybe qualified, that basically signals for the installer to go out and take a closer look. Some people where they say maybe qualified, there might be periodic shading with trees. Some people are okay to maybe sign a waiver, say their energy production may not be as high as they would like it to be. As long as they have that understanding, they can still move forward with solar. But really, that's going to be up to the installer to determine how best to facilitate that. Cool. Well, I invite everyone here in the room, and sorry everyone online, but we do have some food and drinks. So we'll do a little bit of networking here. For everyone online, as you heard, we will be having a lot more events and additional solar information sessions in the months to come, especially, fingers crossed as we see Omicron, hopefully we see better days ahead. But we're here as a resource, and not just Solar United Neighbors, but all of the myriad of partners. We want to be here for you. So please communicate with us. Let us know what you need. For us, if you want to reach out, you can reach out to us at coteam@solarunitedneighbors.org. But thank you all for your time tonight, and we look forward to working together.